I would like to call this morning's January 14th, 2025 meeting to order. We will start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge Athabasca County is located on First Nations Treaty 6 and Treaty 8 traditional territory. We respect and honor all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples' connection to these lands, their history, language, and culture. And just before we begin this morning, Happy New Year to everyone. I thought we'd start with a quick good news story to start our new year here. And that is the great work by the Athabasca RCMP, Vigilant Citizens, and tracking technology that led to recovering millions of dollars of alleged stolen property. And I could not be more prouder of all those who helped to make such a significant bust. So it was great news on the front there. We have today attending via Zoom, Councillor Kapitaniak, and Councillor Chamslick sends her regrets. Prior to the approval of the agenda, as per 9.8 of the procedural bylaw, it says prior to commencing discussion on the first item of the agenda, the chair must ask councillors to select the items they wish to debate, and any items with an accompanying written report that are not selected may be voted on by a single motion adopting the recommendations stated in the report. This was done prior to the last meeting with feedback from the majority of councillors. However, it seemingly created confusion. So for better transparency, the question will happen now. And as we know, closed session items are all to be discussed. So that's 12.1 through 12.5, or 12.1 through 12.5. And we also must discuss 2.1, 4.1, and 4.2. So we'll go around the room. Go ahead, Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you. I would like 5.1 through 5.3, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and 8.2.
2, thank you. Councillor Gerlach. You're good. Councillor Mins. You're good. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Hall. Sorry, you're good. You're good. Councillor Kapitaniak.
All's well.
All is well. All righty. I would also like to add 8.1, 10.1I. I'm just double checking everything here to make sure we've got it all. Alrighty, so if we can run through, once again, we will be discussing 2.1, 4.1, 4.2, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 8.1A. I guess 8.1 and 8.1A are the same. 8.2, 10.1I, and 12.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and 0.5. Alrighty, and with that, can we have an approval of the agenda? Councillor Cromwell would like to approve the agenda as discussed. Are there any additions or deletions? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 8-0. All righty. Our next item is delegations 4.142 that will start at 11. So we will go right into 5.1, which is on page 48 to 71 of your agenda. Or 48. There we go. All righty. So the recommendation here on this report is that council receives this report for information and continue discussions of enforcement priorities to level of service discussion in 2025. Is there discussion? Go ahead, please, Councillor.
I'll make the recommended motion.
Thank you. Councillor Wallach has made the recommended motion. Is there any further discussion on this one? No? If we're ready for the, go ahead, please, Councillor Gerlach.
This is currently what's in place. It's not been altered in,
No, through the community standards bylaw, derelict properties are referenced in the bylaw itself.
it's pretty encompassing.
Yes.
It-
Okay, is there any further discussion? All those ready for the question? All those in favor? And no opposed, that's 8-0. Thank you very much. And we move on to 5.2, Hamlet signage on page 72 of your agenda. The recommended motion, or the the recommendation on the report is to rescind resolution CC 24-478 and CC 24-479 made at the October 31st, 2024 regular county council meeting. And that council directs administration to purchase and install the sign as presented utilizing county funds. Go ahead, Councillor Mintz, and Councillor Cromwell is next.
Move the recommended motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cromwell?
Thank you. While I do somewhat agree with the recommended motion, I think there's a little bit of cosmetic changes that should be looked at in these signs. A lot of our hamlets are very proud, very unique communities, and as such, I think that incorporation of the slogans or that our hamlets have would be a nice addition. I think we can very easily change the bottom half of that sign, put Athabasca County underneath our logo, and install the unique slogan, making each of our communities, retain their pride, yet still very prominently show that we are an Athabasca County community without having the words big and bold on there, and be beneficial for both. So I would like to see a little bit of change made to that before it gets done.
Okay, do you have an amendment with the suggested change?
I know that the old sign up at Wandering River says gateway to the north. That has been very prominent out there. I would like to see that change made. So my amendment would be to place the words Athabasca County underneath the logo, and where it says an Athabasca County community, have it in quotations, gateway to the north.
I'm just writing this down so I have the amendment understood here. You mentioned the Athabasca County under the logo. And in place of that, so where it says an Athabasca County community, you would like to see gateway to the north?
I would.
Okay. Does everybody? Go ahead, Councilor Wallace.
I guess this is to administration. We asked for a signage strategy for the Athabasca County. I'm not seeing one in the package. I can't get behind spending $30,000 a sign for each hamlet.
Madam Chair, that's a fair question. I don't think that anything in here says that every hamlet will get a $30,000 sign. Fine. We just thought, you know what? The signage proposal is out there. It was initiated by a community group first, and then the responsibility kind of transferred onto the county through budget discussions. The way that things move around here, we could be taking the better part of a year getting a strategy together. Sometimes we have to go for some quick wins. In discussion, we think council at budget time can implement a strategy of its own, and I don't think that we need a pile of signage in every hamlet. Let's be honest. We have a few hamlets that need some signage. Some of the others have signage already. They probably won't need it until those ones start to wear. So we thought maybe during each budget deliberation, council could discuss the next hamlet and the level of signage that is required. perhaps, for example, I toured, Rochester with Counselor Gerlach and the comment that I had heard from someone else was that level of signage for Rochester was appropriate. And it was very nice. And it was done by the Ag Society, I believe. So what would be the purpose of us coming in with a big 8x16 sign to replace something that a community group already did? So do we really need a strategy, or could we use some common sense? That was our thinking, and that's why we made the motion. Is the council smart enough to make these decisions on each hamlet by hamlet basis, we believe, and we'll suggest some things in the next budget.
I feel like each community now is gonna be coming to us for a $30,000 sign. I just can't support this. I would like to have something like Laklavish or Thorhild has, steady or consistent signage throughout the communities. And I can't support this.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Gerlach,
Yeah, at the very least, I'd like to split the question.
okay? Oh, thank you. Counselor Capitania?
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to thank the CAO for basically saying what I was going to say. I think that this right now I support because I was definitely one of the counselors that wanted to take the responsibility of the signage off the community group, mostly because I don't think it's fair that they work hard to raise money for something that we should be providing. And so I will vote for this sign to go, or this to go up in Wandering River for that reason. But I do agree that not all communities will need the same type of signage. Wandering River obviously gets way more traffic than some of our smaller hamlets. And I do think that the community group can have input. I don't think that everyone will want $30,000 in signage, but I also know that if this sets kind of like the tone for the largest traffic volume community, we can kind of base it, not just us and the council of the future, can kind of base it on that as well. If you're high traffic, that's kind of going to be the maximum that we'll do. If you need more than one sign, maybe you need 2 or 3 because you have many entrances or exits. Maybe you do get smaller ones. And at first I was really about them looking all the same, but I've kind of come to the common sense side as well, as the CEO said, that everything government moves very slow, and just to have some active or some activity, I'm 100% for Wandering River getting their sign put up.
Thank you very
That's
much.
all.
Appreciate that. Just a procedural with the amendment that is requested. Do we do that at the second split of the question? So the second motion, or do we do that now? The first question, because it's a rescinding of the first question, and then there's amendment to the sign, which would be the second question. So is the amendment done after we do the first question? Yes. I'm not really sure the best way to handle
So
the amendment.
this was a request to split the motion?
Yes,
Is that what it was?
yes.
Does our procedural bylaw talk about that?
Well, in my mind, and I'll just put it out there that we go ahead and we first discuss the rescinding, we'll put the question on the floor to rescind the resolutions, and then we'll deal with the amendment for regarding the sign for the second question. Because there's 2 questions.
So is it, Madam Chair, I'm not clear. So is there a motion on the floor
I haven't
that we're
read it yet.
discussing?
I haven't.
There is a
read it.
motion from Councillor Mins to adopt both those resolutions.
Right, and then there was a request to split the question.
Right.
So at this point, okay, well, we'll just deal with the amendment at this time.
So I
And
can't
then
make a motion while an emotion. On the floor, Kevin. Like, to me, I'm in favor of the first part of the question. I'm not in favor of the second.
So I think we'll handle those both separately. The amendment refers to the actual purchasing of the sign. So we'll deal with the first question. And if we're ready for the first question, is there any further? Councillor Anderson?
I think during our term, the one thing that this council has done right the entire term is we have tried our hardest in this room to look at the county as a whole. I think that's something that we can all look at ourselves and say that we have tried very hard to look at the county as a whole. And by going back and rescinding this motion, I think that we're going against that. I think that we made that motion with the intent of saying, none of us had a problem with Wandering River getting the first sign, but we kind of wanted a plan in place to say that there was something that was going to be county-wide, a strategy that, you know, even if they're rolled out 5 years apart, the signs, you know, there was something to tell the community that we're looking at the whole community and not just Wandering River. We were looking at the whole community and saying Wandering River gets theirs first. And kudos to the community group for starting this conversation, but that we wanted to have a plan in place so that the entire county knew that we were looking at the entire county and not just one. And so for that reason, I'm opposed to doing this, I'm just pushing it through. And I understand looking for quick wins and wanting that, but I do think that it kind of goes against what we've done for the entirety of our term.
Thank you, Councillor Hall, and then Councillor Kapitanic.
Right, microphone. I also think it's important that we have a consistent brand image across the county, and that doesn't necessarily mean identical signs everywhere. That just means we have a conscious, thoughtful, consistent brand image. And without a consistent plan, I think really we're putting the cart before the horse here. And it just doesn't make sense. I would still like to see a sign strategy. There's no reason we can't get that done. And, you know, yeah, some things take some time. Council, you know, I think we have to recognize council asked very clearly for a sign strategy less than I think about 120 days ago. And it frustrates me that we would see council was pretty clear in that direction. And I guess I would have hoped that admin would have brought this to us enclosed if you thought we made a mistake to say, could we reconsider it for these reasons? I don't like that admin has brought a motion that contradicts something that we've asked for just to the table. But so for me, we're once again rethrashing old straw here. Now, if I've thought about we've got hamlets that are hamlets that don't exist. We've got subdivisions, and it would be nice to have something that broadcasts across the county. But if you just do the quick math on this, we're probably pushing close to $750,000. And to start spending more money or to look at those kind of precedents in a year that we've already passed a deficit budget, I think is irresponsible of us. I could get behind moving ahead with this sign if we followed the Rochester model where the community group did it. And so I would propose that the second part of the motion be further amended to strike the words county funds and replace them with community group funds, which is what's recommended on page 73, but different on 72. So I think if the community group is paying for it, it's a start, but in terms of spending more county money, I can't get behind it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kapitanic.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so about rescinding Councillor Wallach's motion, so that's 24,478. That's the part that does kind of get me, because I really feel like we can move ahead with this sign and still have a motion on the table that says, or not on the table, on the books, that says we still want a strategy. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't still be getting a strategic report if we choose to move ahead with this sign. You following my train of thought?
Yes, thank you. Yep.
So that's just a thought, like something out there. I don't know that we have to rescind that motion. We can still be, like, our team can still be working on that strategy for the rest of the hamlets.
Okay,
I'll
thank
just leave
you.
that there. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Okay. Is there any further discussion on this item?
I'd request we split the first part of the first question as well.
Yep, that is, okay, I see what you're saying. So you want to
There's
split them-
three distinct proposals here.
Right, so you'd like to split the rescinding of each motion? Okay. Alrighty, 1, 2, 3, okay. Is there any further discussion on this? Councillor Gerlach?
Yeah, as I understand it, the Wandering River wanted the sign, and so they raised the money to purchase the sign, and they asked for the county to install it. was the request that was made, and all of a sudden it's turned into signage for all the hamlets, and it just got blown all out of proportion. There are so many priorities that come ahead as signs. I mean, if we're at the point where we can start looking at putting signs in the hamlets, when so many other things that are really more important are not even being looked at. I don't know where anybody's had this as a priority. I haven't heard a whisper about it. And I don't think we should be telling people what they want.
Thank you. Alrighty. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Cromwell.
Thank you. I very much agree with Councillor Gerlach and Councillor Hull. We have a community group that spent 2 years, 2 long years working very hard on fundraising for a sign that they were told by administration the county would not pay for, and the county has never paid for. And up until that time that they showed up here with a pile of money, then it became, well, the county, no, we need to do this, we need to get it done. And now we're half a year in limbo, where this community group is sitting on tens of thousands of dollars of donated money. And I understand that things in government do not move quickly, but I think we were very reactive over being proactive. And whether the county or the community group pays for this sign in one of the most high traffic locations in our county on one of the busiest highways in the province of Alberta, we need to get it done. I would like to give kudos again to that community group for their diligent and hardworking efforts for that community, their tireless work, and to even apologize for the unfortunate way the government wheel works and how long they've had to wait and be patient.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question for administration with regards to CC 24414. Or pardon me, that's not the one. Let me see, to direct administration to engage a firm at CC 24-478. Do we have an idea of what that would cost to engage a firm to create a signage strategy?
Madam Chair, no. We could do some research, but it'll be in the tens of thousands of dollars. I know.
Okay,
I've seen it happen before. So if that's what council wants, then we can add it to the final budget and then work on it.
okay. And I kind of wonder if we need to engage a firm to assist in such a thing that with the hamlets that we do have, that we should be able to do that in-house amongst ourselves, is how I feel about that. So we do have 3 different resolutions that were recommended to rescind. We have an amendment to strike county funds and to use community funds, and we have an amendment for Athabasca County to go below the logo and Gateway to the north. So being that we have all kinds of things going on here, we'll start with the amendments, I think, and then we'll work through everything else. So the first amendment, pardon me, you've done the recommended motions, correct? Councillor Mins, okay. Because we have that pardon me, go ahead.
Just as a point of order, I believe you have to call the question on the tabling of the decision on the Hamlet sign first.
Okay.
'Cause technically, you can't really make the other motions until that one's rescinded.
Budget and finance, assist the firm, table, okay, so that would be CC 24479. That we would, okay, so thank you, appreciate that. All right, so let's go back then to rescind. We'll talk about the 3 different motions for the rescinding. So the first motion is to rescind resolution CC 24-414, moved by Councillor Kapitaniak to table this item to budget and finance discussions. All those in favor? Pardon me? Oh, that's part of the, I'm sorry, I just was reading through the background. Thank you for that. My mistake. I will scrap that so that I can read this appropriately. All right, so pardon me, the first item to rescind resolution CC 24-478, moved by Councillor.
I believe Councillor Anderson just proposed to you that the tabling motion should be the one that gets rescinded first. which is,
24479, due to,
which I think you agreed to.
pardon me, there's amendments and motions and rescinding. I'm trying to sort through it. Thank you. To table decision of Hamlet sign on and results CT 78 are in hand. All right, so that has nothing to do with the amendments, correct? To rescind resolution CC 24-479, moved by Councillor Minns to table a decision on the Hamlet sign for Wandering River until the results of 24478 are in hand. All those in favor, or is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 1, 2. So that's 6 and 2, correct? So that motion is passed. All right. The next item, to rescind resolution CC 24-478, moved by Councillor Wallach to direct administration to engage a firm to assist with the signage wayfinding strategy for Athabasca County from the 2024 budget. No further discussion. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. All those opposed?
Nay.
All right, so that is 5 and 3. So that is rescinded, just making that note to rescind. All right. We will move to the amendments to the question that council directs administration to purchase and install the sign as presented, with the amendment that Athabasca County be placed below the logo.
Just as a point of
And-
order, Chair, amendments are proposed in the reverse order. So,
Your amendment first?
so it goes the other way down, please.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the help, folks, again. Not experienced, so learning. So the amendment that Councillor Hall made was to strike county funds in utilizing county funds and replace to utilize community funds. All right, any further discussion? All right, we'll take that to the vote. All those in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All, and those opposed?
Nay.
6. So 1, 2, 3, 5 and 3. Thank you. So that amendment passes. The second amendment is to exchange Athabasca, or to replace Athabasca County, an Athabasca County community with Gateway to the North, and to put Athabasca County underneath the logo, and that is on the picture of the sign on page 74, correct? Awesome. Go ahead, Councillor Gerlach.
I think the community's paying for the sign. I think they should probably be consulted or be in charge of what they'd like to see on it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Conwell?
That was very much my thought right there, is now we are having the community pay for their sign. I think that it is not our place to dictate entirely what is going to be on it, and I would like to see a quick survey put out to the residents of that community and have this brought back to the first meeting in February for finalization.
There's a motion on the floor. We can't take on new
Correct.
wishes.
I was just going to mention that would be
Then-
a separate mention, separate motion. Thank you.
Then we have a sign presentation as supplied by the community group. And I believe they should be free to move forward as designed.
Okay, so with where we'll be voting on this amendment, which you can choose to oppose. And then we can deal with a motion after fact, if that's okay. All right. Councilor Waller?
It's my understanding the community group already designed this. This is what they've proposed, correct?
It's very similar.
It's similar and it was, I believe it was in my report from September 10th.
So it's similar, meaning is there any major change?
If I may. The sign by the community group is black versus the county blue. And it says, welcome to then Wandering River. Note, it's identical sign. The county used the same sign and provider that the community group used. So the differences are The sign would be black versus blue. And at the bottom, the community group chose live, play, work underneath.
Okay, so it's just slightly different. All right, so we'll discuss that when we come back to your motion. All right, so if we're ready to deal with the amendment that Athabasca County be placed under the logo and Athabasca County Community be replaced with Gateway to the North. If we're all, Councillor Hall?
Can I just point out that, I mean, this is still Athabasca County and we should still have some consistent brand images. Athabasca County has not adopted Gateway to the North as a slogan, but in fact, the town of Athabasca has. I don't think it's unreasonable. We put development guidelines on things all the time, and I don't think it's unreasonable to say, yes, but yes, we can have a sign. These are the parameters. It can't be 6 miles wide. It can't be flashing neon. It must be blue. It must be this. So I don't think that it's an unreasonable thing to say, we want to celebrate with you on the uniqueness of your community, but also have some consistency with what's there. And so, Gateway to the North is town of Athabasca.
Okay, thank you. All righty, are we ready to vote on the amendment? Okay, the amendment again, I don't think we need to run through it. We're all good with understanding what it is. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
All right, so that's 8-0, the amendment fails. So I believe the last item on this particular one here is that council direct administration to purchase and install the sign as presented, utilizing community funds. Now, and I might break in here in saying that, I don't believe we have room for any more amendments, if I'm not mistaken, being we've already had 2. So we either choose to go with this or choose to oppose, but however your motion that we mentioned after is not going to happen.
Well, would it be appropriate then to not pass that motion and make a new motion where administration is to contact the community group and give them the go-ahead to have the sign purchased and installed at the Wandering River location?
I believe that would be a great compromise.
Perfect.
All right. Councilor Mins?
I don't know if I wanna actually. County blue is county blue. I don't want a black sign.
Then I'll add that into my motion that we stick with the county blue.
Cause we do have to have some, exactly what Councillor Hall said, we need to actually have a sort of a guideline on what these people can put up, because Lord knows we'll end up with tremendous amount of different signages out there, like Grassland Ag Society put up or purchased their own signs to be put up along the highway and that, and I just don't want to see this all going all over the map. I like the county blue. I don't like black. So that's my thoughts.
Councillor Hall?
There's a good offer in front of us. There's a very reasonable compromise there, and we should congratulate the community on raising money to put up a sign that meets a few basic guidelines. And think of the things that could come off. What if the design would look just like Black Labiche County signs? Right? This is a good offer. This makes sense. We should move ahead with this and move on.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All righty. So on the motion that council directs administration to purchase and install the sign as presented, utilizing community funds, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And all those opposed?
Nay.
1, 2, 3. That motion passes. Are we done with this item? think we're good? We captured it all? The motion passed 6-3. Okay, we're moving on. Or 6-5-3, pardon me, 5-3, thank you. Oh my goodness. We're moving on to 5.3. Do we need to take a break, Counselor Cromwell?
Yeah, let's take a quick recess.
Right, we'll take a 5-minute recess, please. We'll return back just so that everyone's feeling good about it, 10:05. Thank you very much. We'll reconvene here. We are at item 5.3, Colleton Local Improvement Tax, page 75 to 80 of your agenda. The recommendation here is that council receives this report for information. Is there just all at the same time, Councillor Hall?
I'll move the recommended motion.
Thank you. Okay, discussion? Councillor Cromwell.
I'd like to table this for an upcoming committee of the whole meeting. I
Okay.
think that there's more discussion to have and precedent has already been set, so. Because I made the motion to table it for a committee of the whole meeting. Tabling motions have no discussion.
Okay. Thank you, and I believe that's a simple majority. On the motion to table this item, 5.3, the Colleton Local Improvement Tax to a upcoming committee of the whole meeting. All those in favor? 3. All those opposed?
Nay.
5. 3 and 5. All righty. We can go ahead and have this conversation. Is there anybody who would like to weigh in? Go ahead, Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you. I appreciate the work done by administration. I appreciate the recommendation. However, I think that we already have set precedences, no different than our water rates. And I think that for clarity of everything, I would like to see this local improvement tax be gone away with. If that means that we have to do a few refunds in the short term to get the big picture to equal out and have everything uniform across the board, that is the direction that we need to take. It seems more of a kerfluffle to refund bill versus do things straight away. And I'm sure even the residents would appreciate seeing that, change on their bill and not have that extra tax put on there. There are a few properties that are paid entirely. Well, we can deal with that. I think that this needs to go away.
Thank you. Councillor Kapitanic, thank you.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to point out that to my knowledge, no residents of Colleton have requested this be done. None have even talked to me or have any concern over it. In rescinding this improvement tax, you're asking the ratepayers of the county to eat almost $250,000. So instead of having the community that agreed to pay this loan for 30 years pay the loan, because it is a loan to the ratepayers of the county, you're asking all the other ratepayers to just eat $250,000. And I don't even think that the community of Colleton would like to be known as a community that took $250,000 and didn't pay it back. Or sorry, didn't pay back the remainder of the loan. Furthermore, we've had this discussion a lot, and I think it really needs to be stated that other communities could have done the same thing and chose not to. They chose to take it on the end of the water bill. This one community chose to take it on a tax levy. I think that's important to note that looking at your different communities, there's could be reasons for that. There's not a right or a wrong. Colleton got an actual high percentage of rental properties in the area. A lot of the homes are smaller and affordable, and so it becomes a really good community for rentals. And one of the things that I'll point out is that it is the property owner that pays that levy. And so ideally, if you took that away, you're penalizing people who rent, because now all of a sudden they're going to be paying greater rates when ideally their landlord was going to be paying that for, I think, well, to the remainder of that loan payout. So it just seems silly to me. It's one of those things that it was never asked for. It was never talked about. And then all of a sudden, here we are going, well, we want to basically forgive a loan for a great amount of money to charge people on another bill. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm a little bit kerfluffled, as you would say. But anyway, I just really think we should receive this report for information. The question that we asked administration to get was, is that even a possibility? We have the answer. Legal said, yes, it's not something that people do really, because municipalities don't want to just not get the money back that they've given out. But you can, I guess you could say, yeah, you don't have to pay us anymore. But at the final note of my unplanned speech here, I will, I don't know if I can ask Councillor Cromwell directly, but through the chair, and maybe that's something we need to get from administration, but I would like to know what precedences have already been set. I would like to know in the county of Athabasca what local improvement levies have been forgiven in the past, because that would be the only precedent we're talking about here.
Okay, thank you. If I may, I'll chime in and help you out with that. So this levy, when it was instituted, it was with the plan, as you mentioned, a loan for the improvements that happened in Colleton with regards to their water. However, when Wandering River and Grassland received their water through the Water for Life grant, they did not have a levy placed upon them because the majority of that funds were paid for through the grant, I believe it's 90%. So because of that, the council of the time were approached, from my understanding, from Colleton residents to say, hey, if they don't have to pay for a levy, why should we? So in appeasing that and in helping that out, what happened is the levy has been zeroed out according to their water bills. So when we look at Schedule A of our I can't remember what the name of the bylaw is, but it's our water bylaw 2022, 23, I believe, or vice versa. What's happening is that for the first 10 cubes, which is our minimum, Colleton has a different rate than the rest of the county. So that's at $1.93 difference. Over those 10 cubes is $19.30. Times by 12 is $231.60 that they receive as a discounted water rate to zero out the levy. So that's what happened to actually, so nobody's paying back a loan at this point, it's being zeroed out. And so it doesn't cost the $250,000 in a loan to remove this levy. What it would do is actually remove it from being tied to the water rates. And so that's where the confusion and the frustration is happening, is that if we were, for example, to lower our minimum in Colleton from across the board from 10 cubes, how does that now impact their discount for their levy to zero it out? So this is the reason it's become so convoluted and so difficult to understand. When you look at one bylaw on water rate, we're saying everybody pays the same, but we don't. Colleton pays less so that they can zero out that levy because Wandering River and Grassland didn't have to pay it. So by looking at this and removing this levy, what that does is not really set precedence, because precedence has been set to say, hey, if you get a levy, maybe we can give you lower water rates to zero that out. That's the precedence that's already been set. And, you know, it's for me, that's not good transparency. It's not good accountability. It's, let's just call it what it is, remove the levy because they didn't want to pay it. They're zeroing out their month or their yearly tax levy by getting lower water rates. So that's what's really causing the problem. For me, it makes it much cleaner to remove the levy. There may be a cost on the 3 individuals who paid up in full. We would have to sit down and look into what that would account up to. I figured the amount of years that are left to pay, it might be around $7,000. It's not astronomical by any means to give back those people who paid in full. And you, of course, would want to factor in what they've already been discounted in those water rates. So again, it's to remove this levy, we remove its tie to the water rate bylaw. And for me, having a levy that directly correlates to a water rate bylaw isn't a good practice. So I am definitely opposed to just receiving the report for information. I'm more in the favor of absolutely asking for this levy to be, I guess, rescinded. I don't know what the proper wording is, but to rescind this levy to straighten out our water rates so that everybody removes that confusion from the equation. Go ahead, Councillor Kapitanic.
Though I hope to see the motion pass to accept for information. If it doesn't, I really want to engage my colleagues here in administration to say, once again, the community has not asked for change. And if such a great and convoluted, as you quote, change were to be made with no precedences actually noted where a levy has been removed, I really, really want public consultation. This is a town hall situation. This is a massive 30-year project. There's generations that have been involved in it, and not if we at the table are having trouble understanding it through this process, I think the best thing we can do to owe it to the community of Collington is to sit down, and I don't expect all of you to be there, but to let them give their opportunity to understand what is being presented and like properly explained by our administration, not third hand through a meeting or reading it in the newspaper. And I know and we've talked about these things before, they're not well attended, they're not this, but giving the community the opportunity to voice their opinion and or get the information before anything would be any decision would be made, I think would be the one time I would really, really request that. So I'd really just hope we accept this for information at this time.
Thank you very much. No, and I appreciate your words. I am also a huge proponent of public engagement. And as I mentioned, it was brought from Collington residents to say, hey, why should we pay for a levy when others haven't? So that consultation took place, which created this, right? So now, once again, if there's a whole pile of individuals that have changed residences in Collington and that kind of thing, but that was brought forward when this was instituted. I believe it was 2014, 2015. I can't for sure tell you, but it was definitely consulted. Now, if this was to go through and we were to remove the levy, it does nothing to the bottom line of anyone's financial. It absolutely does nothing because it's already being zeroed out through their water rates. So that's why it's so confusing for everybody who looks at this. It doesn't make sense to tie a water rate bylaw to a levy. So I am very much receiving for information is great, but it doesn't fix the problem. Go ahead, Councillor Catania.
Sorry, I really want to ask who has complained about this in this term? Where are the names and the numbers and the emails of the residents that have a problem with this? Because they didn't talk to me and I'd like to reach out to them. And number two, it does impact the bottom line. Even though it zeroes out on our books, as I stated, property owners paying a levy, renters pay the water bill. The water bill is a little less for the renter because the owner of the property pays a levy. You are going to impact the renter. You're going to impact the most marginal people that have to rent property. So this property owner, he's like, sweet, I don't have to pay that extra $250 a year. Wow, my renter pays it. I mean, you think that's a small amount of money per month, but it is a big amount of money for seniors that are living on a fixed income, families, people with single incomes. And that's the line that we're talking about where I want public consultation. It's not a zeroed out for the people living in the homes because a lot of the people don't own the home they're living in. The levy, again, is paid for by the owner of the home, not by the renter. So public consultation with the community would be very important because the community is built of people that don't necessarily own the homes. And I still have no idea where precedence has come up where anywhere in the county a levy was instituted that the county forgave, no matter if it was zeroed out or not. And furthermore, I don't have any names, numbers, or emails of any residents of Collington who have said, we want to see this levy gone. If I can have those and have communication, then maybe I'll feel better about it. But at this point, my community has not vocalized this at all.
Thank you. We have Councillor Gerlach and Councillor Cromwell.
Basically, the levy has been forgiven. It's just been forgiven by every month you get a reduction in your water consumption. And if there is a concern for a senior that's struggling, a 10 cube minimum every month is certainly not of any assistance. They have to pay for the water they don't use, plus they have to pay for the disposal of the water that they haven't used. So that's where the real strain is.
Thank you.
I completely agree. Our water bylaw needs vast improvement. But just for the record to my friend on the screen, I have heard from many residents in the Wandering River area that bring up the Collington levy and the fact that it's zeroed out and why is this community getting a discount when we are being, I'm going to use a quote, posed as a water pun there for our water rate. So it would be very, very fun on the Collington end to have that town hall and go, yeah, we don't want to do that because we're saving money here. And we need to treat the county as a whole and everybody equal from every community that you're in across the board.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to weigh in? Okay, and I too, I understand where you're coming from, Councillor Capitania, completely and wholeheartedly. But when I look at this as municipality of the whole, once again, we're tying water rates to a levy. We have had discussion, which I imagine is upcoming soon with regards to our water rates. And it was mentioned that, minimums would be something that would be discussed, which would then, of course, as Councillor Gerlach just mentioned, really help out those individuals who are coming nowhere near to spending those cubes a month. So again, I am very much not in favor of leaving this levy in place. I'm very much in favor of cleaning it up to the point where it makes sense and is not tied to another particular bylaw. I think without any amendments to this particular motion, Councillor Hall.
Through the chair, can I firstly ask administration, how many calls from residents have you received on this matter?
Madam Chair, through to Councillor Hall, I can only speak for myself. I've received none.
So I would assume that if it was a burning hot issue, most of that stuff eventually filters up to the chief. So I think, at the minimum use, this does make everything equal. We're sitting here arguing about whether they pay at the end of the year $1,200 or whether they pay $1,200. We're just arguing about how they pay it. And ultimately, residents have not been consulted on this. We're proposing, or I would urge you to receive this for information. The idea that we should make a change when we haven't consulted residents and residents haven't brought this to us as a problem is, to me, is a waste of time. To spend time looking at undoing this and deleting it is a waste of administrative time. And I think actually does set a very dangerous precedent for the future use of local improvement levies and our ability to use them in the future. I think local improvement levies can be a really important tool for municipalities to advance the needs and the development inside of communities where it's unique to a community. It's a great way to partner with communities, and we shouldn't poison the well on that by reneging on a commitment that has already been made. We often have heard at this table in the last years about how people are struggling. And I agree with a colleague that to do this needless shift is really to just transfer the cost to exactly those people who are struggling most. We've heard that a couple of times already today that it's already zeroed out with the water bill. So I think we can all agree that in fact, things are equal. Wandering River residents do pay at the end of the year the same as Collinton residents. And whether we've done a good job of communicating that is a different story, but the reality is there's equality there. So I don't understand the motivation to create work for administration. We have so many important things to do, and this is really a solution in search of a problem. No one has approached the elected councillor stating it's a problem. The residents haven't asked for it. Let's just accept this for information, move on, and get on with the important things we need to do.
Thank you for your words. Is there any other further discussion? I'm seeing some, you did, and I'm seeing there's possibly, all right. If there's no further discussion, we will look at the Councillor Hall's motion that council receive this report for information. If we're ready for the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
4, all those opposed? 4. 4 and 4, the motion fails. We will move, I believe at 10:30. Our delegation arrives at 11, so we will go on to 7.1 Texas Gate request, and that is on page 93 of your agenda. The recommendation here is that County Council appoint Councillor Kapitanic as co-chair and Councillor Ashton Anderson as alternate co-chair. Oh, pardon me, I'm reading the wrong one.
Yeah.
I'm reading, that's not right. See here, page 81, pardon me. Skipped ahead, folks. All right, back to the Texas Gate request. The recommendation that is that the request for Texas Gate installation by Alberta Forest Industries, Inc., Alpac, on Range Road 195.5 be approved as per policy 3337. And I believe Councillor Mins, you wanted to discuss.
I'll identify as Councillor Mims for our discussion here.
Okay.
I'd like to make the recommended motion and applaud them for their work with the Fire Smart program and how they're actively working for the betterment of our community.
Okay, is there Councillor Gerlach, did you also want to speak to this? You wanted to make the motion. We'll have to catch you on the next one. Is there any further discussion on this item? Councillor Mins?
With the understanding of where this actually came from, Athabasca, how this policy came into play is Athabasca County had a Texas Gate on road allowance going into person's property that was put there on for gravel extraction, and it ended up staying there to the point where all of a sudden it became so cumbersome to look after that this policy was put forward, so it didn't happen like that again. And with the understanding that whoever wants to put that Texas Gate in has to maintain it themselves, and because it fell down onto Athabasca County. That's why this was put in there. So we don't live in Texas. We don't need Texas Gates on our road allowances unless it's done through a policy. So I just wanted to say why.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion on this item? All right, the question is that the motion that Councillor Cromwell made is the request for Texas Gate installation by Alberta Forest Industries on Range Road 195.5 be approved as per policy 337. All those in favor? And no opposed. That's 8-0. Thank you. Now we will go on to page 93, which is 7.2 of your agenda. We'll get there. There we go. All right, so the recommendation on this report is that County Council appoint Councillor Kapitanic as co-chair and Councillor Ashton Anderson as alternate co-chair of the Athabasca County and Village of Boyle Intermunicipal Committee. Is there a motion? Councillor Gerlach, is that your motion as recommended? Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, we're ready for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And no opposed. That would be 8-0. Thank you. And 7.3, page 101. This is the LARB and the CARB panelist appointment. The recommendation is to proceed with contracting Cheryl Exley as a panelist to the Local Assessment Review Board and the Composite Assessment Review Board retroactively to December 13th, 2024. Recommended motion, Councillor Cromwell has put it forward as recommended. Is there any discussion? All righty. We're ready for the question. All those in favor? And no opposed. So that would be 8-0. Thank you. All righty. If there's nobody needing a break, we will go on to 8.1A, which is page 112. And I just wanted to mention on this one that the 41st annual Rural Women's Conference is coming up February 6th. And just to share with everybody that tickets can be purchased here at the county office or online through Eventbrite. This will be an excellent conference for folks to attend, so hopefully we will see everybody's smiling faces there. And other than that, does anybody else have further discussion on the events portion? Alrighty, so do we have a motion? Counselor Mins to receive the community event calendars for information. All those in favor? And no opposed, so that would be 8-0. Thank you. And page 115. Which are meeting calendars. If we can start, we'll go around the table here. Counselor Wallach, would you like to begin? All good. All good? All right. Counselor Hall? All good. Counselor Anderson?
Multiplex meeting on January 27th, as well as February 24th.
And I'm sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
Sorry. January 27th and February 24th,
And those meetings are
multiplex meeting,
multiplex, okay.
as
Thanks.
well as February. Oh, no, the other one's there.
Okay, all righty. Counselor Kapitaniak? You're good? Counselor Cromwell?
I have nothing to add for the remainder of January. And as Director Wilkinson is not here, I am going to look at moving the MPC meeting from the 25th to hopefully prior to the COW meeting on the 18th, but we can talk about that more at our next meeting.
Okay,
Just again, coming in for an MPC meeting on a lone day does not make a lot of sense.
okay. Counselor Gerlach? Nothing. Counselor Mins, nothing. Okay. I do have, let me see here. We have adding here the RMA 2025 member visiting schedule that is on page 117 of your agenda. And I believe we are looking to create a date on the same day as other districts. Where are we at here? Athabasca County. Twice every 2 weeks, so monthly conflict dates. All right, so if we can look at some dates at this that we can propose, I believe 2 to 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken, is required. Where's everybody at? That would work for them. I'm just looking to see, we don't have any other dates that the other people are, because they're trying to schedule, so we have no direction there, so are we looking into February? Possibly, please send your responses above to Natalie on or before January 31st. Okay, so is February looking more open for folks? Counselor Anderson?
I think we should try and combine it with one of the last council meetings of the month, so either January 30th or February 27th.
Okay. February 27th,
I agree with that.
February 27th. Okay, Counselor Wallach?
Or the 25th, if we're gonna have a meeting anyways.
Okay. So depending on what's happening with MPC, the 25th is also a date to propose.
Well, if we're gonna do a 2-hour meeting or whatever they want, I'd propose it on the 25th versus a council meeting.
Okay. Everybody,
That would make it much more sense to come in for an MPC meeting if we're here anyway.
Okay.
Just I can't get behind an MPC meeting when we have nothing else going on that day.
all right. Does that looks like a good date for everybody? February 25th will be the proposal date for the RMA member visiting. So we'll just put that as tentative for now and get confirmation from RMA, correct, CAO? Oh, yeah, okay. So tentative for the RMA Alrighty, and we also have one item that's been outstanding for a while, which is the request from Sergeant Hall for the RTOC unit that they've invited us to join in on training in-person training session that they have. It's been a very generous offer. It would be pretty exciting to see. Is there some dates that there's only 6 that can go at a time? Are there any dates that we can send forward to Sergeant Hall so that we can go forward with this invitation? I'm thinking February as well. We can also look further
I
down.
would look at, February 25th after we're done RMA, if there's time in that.
You mean in March? After, oh,
Oh.
this one, I believe we have to, I don't think this is happening here in town. This happens in Edmonton.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'd probably want a day alone for that.
I would look then immediately after RMA would be convenient for someone like me. I know everyone's different, but sometime in March would be good.
Sometime in March, which we don't have our calendar up for March yet. Do we want to discuss this then at our next meeting? Okay. We will discuss this as to grab some further dates into March. Alrighty. I think that was everything that had to be discussed on that.
Madam Chair, I just had one, that we received a request from Village of Boyle for dates for tri-council meeting. And the dates that worked for those, our other 2 partners were either February 10th or 11th in the evening at the Village of Boyle.
Alrighty. Being that we do have a meeting on the 11th, is that more suitable for everyone else for the evening? And did they give a time, 5:30 or 6 or something? Couldn't remember.
The invite didn't say whatever our normal time would have been. It's not clear.
It's probably be an evening meeting. How does everybody feel about the 11th? Good, good, good. All good, all right. Yep. No, it doesn't work for you? Okay. Councillor Kapitaniak, the 11th work for
I
you?
would prefer the 10th. I am able to move what I have on the 11th though if needed.
Okay. Do we have the majority of council that's here available on the 11th? Okay. If that's okay, we'll go with the 11th, with the majority by the look of it. Okay. So if that works for you, CAO, to forward February 11th would be great. I'm just having a look. Oh. The 15th, I guess we can discuss at lunch, but we're going to have a workshop here on the 15th, which is tomorrow. We should probably look at the attendance of who's all still available to attend so that we make sure that it's going to be a go. So we can discuss that at lunch, I believe. Just to get everybody's attendance, or do you want to discuss it here for who's all available for tomorrow? Okay, let's discuss it here. Do we have the majority of council available for tomorrow's workshop?
I'm
I'm
here.
available. You're available. We haven't given an end time on it yet. Counselor Kapitanic, you're available. Counselor Wallach is not. Counselor Hall, are you available tomorrow? We'll see. Counselor Anderson, no. So we have 4 counselors that I know of that are going to have trouble arriving for tomorrow at 9:30 on the 15th. Is this something we want to reschedule? I think it's important that majority of council be there.
I'm okay with rescheduling. I can
Okay,
work.
yeah, okay. Is there another date that looks good to folks?
I'm gonna throw out my favorite day of the calendars right now. February 25th, when we're done everything else that we're doing on that day.
February 25th. Okay. Yeah, we might as well make it a full day. Yeah, there's only a couple hours in the morning, couple hours carrying on. Okay, I like that date too. Does February 25th work for everybody else? Counselor Kapitanic?
Okay, so I must have missed something. So February 25th, we have MPC?
Yes.
No.
MPC, and then we have tentatively the RMA visit. Member visit that we It's on page, pardon me, let me find that again.
117.
You have it? 117, it's on
Okay.
page, yeah.
So then you would be, so just to clarify, what time does that start?
Well, the MPC is at 9:30. I'm assuming we would probably book if the CAO is giving us direction on that, maybe 10, it would be the RMA one. Because they're trying to, of course, coordinate with other municipalities same day, correct?
Okay,
Correct.
so I guess that my question is can this workshop coffee just become lunch?
Yep, that looks like a good idea.
If the timing would like, that's why I'm wondering, time, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. If that works for everybody. All right, let's move that workshop to the 25th. From tomorrow. All righty. Has anybody else got any changes? And if not, is there a motion to receive the calendars? Receive the calendars as amended by Counselor Cromwell. Ready for the question? All those in favor? And no opposed, so that's 8-0. All righty. Order to 11. If we can quickly go through reports. What do they have here?
I'm just stepping out for a minute.
Okay, thank you. Did have some. Bear with me. There we go. Counselor Anderson, by any chance? I'm just really excited about the news that was released about the multiplex. Did you want to share it?
No, it appears my committee report wasn't included in the agenda package, so you'll see it next time.
Okay. So I will leave that then. I just, it's pretty, the multiplex has some really good work that's been completed that is very beneficial to the community. So I'm excited about it and, but I will not steal Counselor Anderson's thunder and it'll come through her report next time. All righty, so because we are not having any action items with this, the reports, thank you so much for all of those who have submitted reports. They've been very informative and very much appreciated. And if everybody gets a chance to look at them, including the public, that would be fantastic. Good information to have. So I think right now we'll probably take a recess if we could, rather than going into closed, or do you feel we can get through a couple of closed items before our delegate CAO back? Or should we just take a recess?
Yeah, I think you probably could and still have some time to take a 5-minute break before 11. I mean, you can always stop at 5 to 11 regardless of where you're at.
Okay, all right. So if we could look at the closed session items. If we could
Motion
move-
to go into
motion to go
closed.
into closed, that will be Counselor Cromwell. All those in favor? No opposed, so that would be 7-0.
Morning, Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3.
Brian Hall, Division 4.
Camille Walk, Division 9.
Rob Ince, Division 8.
We have Counselor Capitania, who is Division 3. She is on Zoom. Counselor Gerlach is here and will join us shortly, and regrets we have that's not going to work well. So we will start again with CAO Beck. We have our recording secretary, Leah Blair. We have Jordan Schenkelberg with communications. Behind you, we have Director Ambley, Jill, Manager of Finance, Lackey. I'm not sure of your title. Thank you very much. And if you'd like to go ahead.
I'm Jeff Alston, partner with Metrics Group, so external auditor, and I am here today to present our audit planning report to council and to management here. So I guess I'll just dive right in. To begin this report, just a bit of an executive summary here. Really, the purpose of this report is to promote two-way communication between ourselves as the auditors and yourselves as counselors. Services to be provided here noted, obviously audit of the county's consolidated financial statements, preparation of the statements, your municipal financial information return, which is your information that gets sent to municipal affairs. Additional procedures this year in relation to LAP as well as family community support services. When it comes to engagement team, so myself as the partner, Nachia, who's been on the file, I think she worked in the county for at least over 5 years now, I think. She's the manager of the file, and then Melina as well, who's been around for a few years. When it comes to responsibilities of ourselves as auditors, really our responsibility is to conduct an audit in accordance with Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, and that the financial statements of the county are presented in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards, which are the accounting standards that all government organizations or entities report under across Canada. When it comes to responsibility management, those charged with governance for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. And just to note here that those charged with governance, council is responsible for overseeing the county's financial reporting process. When it comes to materiality, materiality is used as a guide in our planning. We use 4% as a benchmark, or about 1.2 million. For the county. So what we're saying here is that if revenues or expenses, for example, were to increase or decrease by about 1.2 million, we feel that a user of the financial statement may have a different view or outlook on the financial performance or results of the county. So users being yourselves as counselors, ratepayers, municipal affairs, those individuals or organizations with a vested interest in the financial performance of the county. From there, we use performance materiality, which is set at 75% of actual. So if we were to have unrecorded misstatements that exceeded our performance materiality, we would be asking for adjustments to be made to get below that. So it's almost like another benchmark in between as we work up towards the 4% amount there. And then we have a trivial threshold, which is if we find misstatements that are below our trivial threshold, they don't end up on our unrecorded misstatement report that we provide to council, the results of our findings. So those are areas of materiality that are used in accordance with Canadian auditing standards while we perform our work. When it comes to the plan scope, so here we have a few pages here where we outline our audit approach. Which is that we'll utilize a combined approach. So what that means is that we do assess your internal controls. We test specific internal controls to take reliance on that while performing our work. And then in addition to that, we perform substantive procedures, which would be such as looking at individual specific detail samples, analytical procedures, confirmations, so other methods in order to ensure that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So when it comes to areas of focus, the main area of focus is management override of those controls. So management's in a unique position to potentially perpetrate or manipulate the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error. So with that said, it could be adjusting amounts to conform to budget, increase annual surplus. So we use data analytic tools to identify manual journal entries that may be indicative of manipulation of the financial statements. So stuff that's outside the normal processing of a receivable or a payable. We then test those entries to make sure that they are valid entries. So that's a main focus here when it comes to auditing, is obviously looking for a potential manipulation there. The next area of focus, main focus, is really revenue recognition. So making sure that revenue is being recognized once it's been earned or performance obligations have been met. So as the county receives specific grants, there's usually restrictions attached to those, making sure those restrictions are being met before the revenue is being recognized is a big thing. So definitely looking at receivables. It also ties into your capital assets. So if you have a large purchase, how is that purchase funded? If it was funded from a grant program, is that actually what the grant was intended for, applied for, et cetera? So all that kind of goes in conjunction with each other. Or did you receive grant funding up front that should be deferred to be spent later when the project's done? So revenue recognition and making sure that the revenue is being recognized in line with your revenue recognition policies is key. There's also new revenue section this year for public sector standards. So we'll be doing additional work with management to make sure that policies and disclosures have been updated and that revenue is being recognized in accordance with the new handbook section as well. Net municipal property taxes, we want to make sure those are being calculated correctly. So obviously, what was the approved mill rate by council? What are the approved assessments? Making sure that that's tying in. So that's obviously a key area of focus as well. Other areas of note here, we want to make sure operating expenses as well as wages are reported in the correct period, and also reflect the actual amount that was intended or purchased, or when it comes to wages, that the correct rates are being applied. Receivable balances is an area, so making sure that receivables have been picked up by the county, or that the receivables that you do have are deemed to be collectible. You don't want to be booking receivables that are 1 year, 2 year, 3 years old that potentially couldn't be collectible. Maybe an allowance is needed, so that's obviously an area of concern for us. And then the last two here, tangible capital assets. Again, here, just making sure that items that have been reported by management as tangible capital assets actually meet the definition of that. We look at items that have been expensed that potentially could meet the definition, and maybe they should have been tangible capital assets, making sure your amortization is calculated correctly, remeasurements, gains, losses. So again, a lot of work in that area. And then also looking at how these items were funded to make sure that the revenue recognition is being correct, whether it's through grants, through levies, or through reserves. And then inventory for consumption, making sure your gravel inventory is correct. So has a third-party report been, a measurement been done? Has that been calculated, adjusted for at year end to make sure that it's accurate based on a third-party measurement there? So those are just areas of concern and kind of the key areas of focus for us while we're performing our audit work when it comes to the county's financial statements where we feel there's potentially risk. When it comes to requests of those charged with governance, so when performing our duties, your duties as those charged with governance, you may become aware of additional areas of concern. So please feel free to either discuss them at this meeting here or to reach out to me. My email's on our website if you need to have more of a private conversation. When it comes to timelines, we performed our intern work in December there. We'll begin year-end work in March and obviously be here in April to report to council in relation to our findings. When it comes to client preparedness and engagement commencement, so just to note here, just to make sure that, we are booking dates to come in to do work. We're expecting that everything will be ready to go for us upon those dates. It's a tight schedule. So again, just kind of reiterating the fact that, we've set dates, making sure that the work and everything is available that we're asking for, so we can make sure that we're hitting the April council meeting as intended. When it comes to appendices, just appendix 1 here, just indicating our independence, that we are independent of council and of the county. Our engagement letter, which is in here in appendix 2. Management representation, which will get signed at the end of our engagements, with outlines all the information within in our financial statements, and then additional communication of results. So this is our initial audit planning report, our audit findings report. We look at all those areas of focus. We provide you with any significant findings we would have had, or if we didn't, and have a discussion on those, as well as any other items that we would have noted while performing our work. Again, appendix 2 is just our standard engagement letter, which I do believe we might have a signed copy, or maybe we'll get a signed copy today. Oh yeah, it's already signed. And then appendix 3, which outlines some new accounting standards. So the one I spoke on earlier, 3,400 when it comes to revenue. So what has changed here? So really, they've established a new standard on how to account and report on additional revenues that that go beyond grants and taxes, and giving some guidance there. So how will this impact the audit? So we'll be required to perform additional work in this area. Significant revenue transactions reviewed for potential performance obligations to address these. It's not going to be as much work as what we did with asset retirement obligations. So we're expecting to just have some discussion with management, identify some additional revenue streams, identify the impact, and just update some financial statement disclosure. But I'm not expecting there to be a wholesale change on how much revenue should be recognized in the year when it comes to additional revenue items of the county. So what we require management is really, to review their other revenue streams, identify these items that we've listed here, determine the transaction exchange, identifying any performance obligations, transaction price, and then management will need to update their accounting policies to include a clear and concise description of these typical performance obligations. So we'll work with them on that in relation to policy there. So that's kind of it for this year. There is one here when it comes to public private partnerships, which the county isn't involved in, and as well as any purchase intangible assets, which is not something that we would expect to see at the county as well. On the last page is the future accounting standard procurement. So on your December 31, 2027 financial statements, you'll have a new conceptual framework. It'll actually change the way your financial statements look. So currently you have financial assets, financial liabilities, non-financial assets, and then accumulated surplus. What will change is you'll still have your financial assets. Your non-financial assets will move up on the financial statements from the bottom to around the middle. They'll go below the financial assets to give you a total assets. You'll then have financial liabilities, non-financial liabilities, and then you'll have your net asset position. And then you will then have a traditional balance sheet where assets will equal liabilities and equity, as was seen maybe over 10, 15 years ago now when they changed the framework previously. There'll be other additional schedules, such as a net financial schedule where you have financial assets less financial liabilities. And then there'll be your accumulated surplus schedule, which will show your net assets, remeasurement gain losses. So that's kind of the change that you'll see. Mainly it will be on the balance sheet, where you'll go back to a traditional balance sheet approach, where assets less liabilities and equity. So yeah. And that's kind of it for our audit planning report. I guess if anybody has any additional questions or concerns, I can definitely discuss.
Thank you very much for that. It was very informative, as always. A lot to wrap our heads around, for sure. Anybody have any questions, comments? Right now for Jeff? Quiet bunch. I don't see Councillor Kapitaniak. I don't think she has anything. Alrighty. Well, if nobody has any questions or comments, thank you very much for your presentation. We will be going into closed, which is 4.2 of our agenda, to discuss your presentation. And it's under section 24, advice from officials, and it's following this open session. So if everybody's ready to go into closed, go ahead. No, you're the motion. All right, so Counselor Mins has a motion to go into closed. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Counselor Capitanic, I'm not sure if she's there, but there she's coming. There she is. Nope. Dip in, out. There you are. All right, there she is. So I believe that's 7-0, and no opposed. So thank you very much. And I believe administration will be. Oh. Sorry about that, Jordan. Do we have to go through that motion again? No, okay. Ready to go? All right. Welcome back. We have come out of close. We have a few motions to go through, and we will start with item 4.2, and Councillor Anderson has a motion.
Regarding item 4.2, I move to direct administration to present the 2024 management letter to council for review at the next council meeting.
Thank you. We're ready for the question. All those in favor? That's 6, no opposed. That's 6-0. Thank you. And 12.1, we've got 3 motions here. Councillor Gerlach. Gerlach would like to direct the committee members to further discuss the development of an IDP with the committee as discussed in closed. All ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
That's 6-0, no opposed. Thank you. Councillor Gerlach would like to direct the committee members to negotiate the draft agreement terms for the locum apartment funding agreement and report back to council with further details. Ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, that's 6-0, no opposed. And the last item in 12.1, Councillor Capitanic would like to direct administration to issue payment to the Village of Boyle to support the locum apartments for the 2025 budgeted amount once the locum funding agreement has been executed. We're ready for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's great, 6-0, no opposed. Item 12.2. Hopefully I'll get this right. Councillor Hall would like to make the motion that County Council direct administration that payments to ARMS for capital budget of the Athabasca Regional Multiplex does not exceed payments made by the town of Athabasca. County funding is for exclusive use at the Athabasca Regional Multiplex. Correct? All right. For all those in question, all those in favor? 1, 2,
Aye.
3, 4, and 5, and opposed? That'd be 5-1. All righty. 12.3, Councillor Anderson would like to make a motion that the council direct administration to proceed with the recommendation as discussed in closed session. Okay. Ready for the question? All those in favor? 2,
Aye.
3, 5, and opposed? It's 5-1. Motion carries. And item 12.4, Councillor Mins would like to request administration to send a meeting request for during RMA as discussed in closed. Yes? Okay. And if we're all ready for the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
That is 6-0, and we have one more motion here. And what that is a motion to request the CAO to brief Councillors Chamzik and Cromwell of the enclosed items. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, opposed? 3, that is, motion has been defeated. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting, and thank you to all who arrived and was here and participated. Thank you so much for being here today.